Hello and welcome to Next Steps in Creative Harping. I'm here with Shelley Fairplay of Start Harp, and I am Deborah. Hi, and I'm Deborah Henson-Conant of Hip Harp Academy. And the reason that we wanted to come here together today is that, well, we're friends and we talk, and we were talking and realizing that we are both launching classes next Sunday and Monday. That was one reason. But the other reason is that I just did a challenge for Baroque Flamenco, the Baroque Flamenco 5-day challenge. And as I started having webinars, people were asking me questions in the Q&As about, because the Academy takes members from fledgling on all the way up to professional. And so there were people saying, like, how fledgling is fledgling? Like, what if I only have a few feathers? What do I do? And I always have the same answer, which is, if you're not sure, go work with Shelley. And even if you are sure and you want to develop your technique, go work with Shelley. So we wanted to talk about today what the two programs are that we are each starting next week, and how the Academy and Start Harp fit together and why they fit together that way. So Shelley, why don't you talk about Start Harp and what's starting on Sunday or Monday?
Okay, well, all my 12-week classes are starting on Sunday and Monday. So there's Start Harp Level 1, which 2 and 3, and Flourishing Harpist. But Start Harp 1 is the course if you've never played the harp before. I'm guessing most of you guys here already play the harps, because I can see your beautiful harps apart from anything else next to you. But if you've never played the harp before and you want to learn about sitting at the harp, how to read music from scratch, how to hold your hands, improvise from the very beginning, play by ear from the very beginning, everything from the very beginning, Start Harp's the one for you. Start Harp Level 2 is kind of expanding on that. I call it a repertoire builder as well, because we actually learn a new piece of music every week. It is, you don't have to learn them all. It's kind of a library of ideas at the time. You don't have to learn them all, but that's what happens in that course. And we go a little bit into mode, a little bit into sort of a few more techniques as well. Level 3, we go into more extended techniques. I mean, only things like thumb slides and harmonics and rolled chords, but we look in detail about how you can work on those and practice those, as well as new pieces, as well as going around the circle of fifths using levers and pedals as well, and learning how to, go key to key and also modulate between them. So the pieces in that course actually all link up and we travel around the circle, just half the circle that you can do on the lever harp. I do just briefly cover the other half for the pedal harp players as well. And Flourishing Harpist is sort of a secret level 4, but I called it a different name on account of the fact that it can be taken from a very fledgling level right through. I've actually had teachers take the course and be really nice about it as well. So that one actually is kind of almost just sort of behind the scenes of everything that we do. There's a bit on working with your, how to work out your own fingering yourself, how to work out, to troubleshoot any rhythm challenges you might have. There's a bit on playing with other musicians, where actually I filmed my husband and I playing together and talked about, how you interact with other musicians to know when to start, stop, slow down, all that kind of stuff. So it literally is almost like behind the scenes of music, in a way, of playing music, Flourishing Harpist. So it does, that one works very multi-level, but it does still build on level 3 as well. In all the courses, there are actually 2 levels of sheet music all the way through. So if you are reading the music, then you can pick a simplified version or a more challenging version as you go through as well. So that's what I've got starting. And you've got my favorite course of yours starting, haven't you? This is like the best course I've ever done in my life. You've got starting on Monday, Deborah. Hey, I know,
I'm muted. I know. I didn't want to cough while you were talking. Yeah. So let's just talk. Let's just say a second. So what I'm, one of the things that I love about what you're doing is what a powerful foundation it has. And one of the things that Shelley and I, both really agree about is the importance of getting that foundation and then being able to do improv and being able to just, and I think the other thing that we agree on that's similar in our two schools is the how we have training that is video first, and then you get to work with us live. So you have both that video that you can take slowly at your own pace or do as many times as you want, and then the opportunity to take classes live. And according to Shelley, this is happening in part because the first class of mine that Shelley came into was that really Baroque Flamenco? Because the first I remember was a blues. I remember that because I remember I remember your first project, and I remember her first project, and I was like, this girl is really something. And then she disappeared. And I
So
was
how
like,
many reasons?
oh, I wonder what I did there. But anyway,
The
so
nice thing about that project was I thought I'd never meet you, Deborah, and that's why I sent it. I was like, I'm never going to meet this woman, so I'm going to send her this really off the wall video because I'm never going to meet this person. Anyway,
it was
I
great. It
digress.
was wonderful. So why don't you, so let me tell you what's starting on Monday in Hip Hop
Please
Academy.
do,
And
yeah.
then I love how Shelley describes it because I never thought about it this way. So what's starting on Monday is Baroque Flamenco Beyond the Page. Now, a lot of you already had Baroque Flamenco Challenge, and I created that to give an even bigger foundation for the class so that people who take the class can get even more from the class. So there is sheet music. That's where I took everything that I play in Baroque Flamenco, because I improvise it. I took it all and I codified it. So all the techniques are codified and written down. Now, what Shelley has said that she liked about this, but actually, let me just be clear. So Monday, Baroque Flamenco Beyond the Page is beginning. The other class that comes out of the challenge is blueprints for creativity. So as I'm seeing people sign up right now, what I'm seeing people sign up for are either Baroque Flamenco Beyond the Page, blueprints for creativity. I'm seeing people sign up for sing and play harp, which is really interesting. I didn't really talk about that in the class. And then I'm seeing people sign up for the full academy. And in the academy, you get all the classes. And more importantly, you get right into the community, and you get to be in the Facebook group, and you get to meet with us on Mondays where we have chats. And also there's an office hour each week. So Shelley and I have very similar setups. And we can talk about why that is in a second. But Shelley, what is it that you liked about yeah, what is it? And then I want to tell them about, how I first saw Start Harp. So you tell them about Baroque Flamenco, and then I'll okay.
Well, I took the class, and I think when you first launched it, I think it was over quite a short time period the first time. I can't remember, but I feel like it was.
Yes.
And it was just this incredible experience because, I'd been spat out the other side of university and whatever. And, where I felt like I was always having to work out bar by bar how I was going to practice something for myself. And then I took your course, and, you said to me, right, well, not just to me, obviously, you said, put your hand on the strings here and then do this with the other hand. Do that 20 times. I'd be like, 1, 2, 3. And I did this, and I didn't have to engage my brain. It was kind of very much like, I was listening and enjoying the music, obviously, but it was very much, do this, and the muscle memory worked for me. So by the end of the course, I was able to play this phenomenal piece of music that I have performed out so many times since. So thank you. And but without having engaged my brain, it was like, oh, okay, my body and mind can do this for me. So it was just a phenomenal experience, really, of going from zero to that within a very short space of time without having to think for myself, and it was beautiful.
I totally understand that. I think there's a beautiful, I think I felt that way when I was learning how to play jazz, because I just had to go do it. I was just in a situation and I had to do it. So I always love that description. And I remember you writing to me and saying, I didn't even have to think. And I was like, great, I think. but I totally get what it's all about. You don't want to have to figure out how to learn it. You want to be able to learn it. You want to be able to follow that pattern or follow something. So I must admit that this of all my classes is the most like that. There's
the incredible picture that you have, or is that secret? I don't know.
Oh, the secret picture of me as Marie Antoinette.
No, the secret, the diagram you've made of the
oh, right. Well. It's not secret, but yeah, the diagram. That's right. And the night before I did the class, I made this in a passion. I was like, they have to see how I see it. And I'll just remember this moment. I got the diagram all done and I held it up, and I just had this, I think I turned red. I had this moment of just utter shame. That I was afraid that people were going to get into the classroom and say, we didn't come here to be in kindergarten. We want to learn real music. So that was, I think a lot of us, this comes out of that complexity of how we think it's supposed to be complex. We all think that. And so when I actually started showing how it actually looks to me, which is so simple, I was ashamed, really ashamed. I've since begun to realize that that's what makes it work. So going back to Shelley. So Shelley was one of the first people who was ever in my mentorship program, Harness Your Muse. And the first thing she wanted to do was to make a show, which she made, called Three Strands. But the first thing she had to do was to learn to stop relying on her music. And this was a moment I will never forget, because we were in the same room together and she was about to play for me and she had her music stand, and I just pulled the music stand away, and she looked at me with these daggers and she pulled the music stand over to her.
I don't remember it quite like that.
And I took the music stand and I pulled it away. And she was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I was like, what did I say? Trust me? I would never trust anyone who says trust me, but I think but in any case, that was really powerful. And it was powerful also because of realizing if you break the music down, you can learn music.
It was incredible, really, because you actually, the way I remember it was that my music wasn't in the room, and I was like, you were like, right, let's work on this, let's work on your show. And I was like, okay, I'll go and get my music. And you were like, no, we don't need your music. I was like, yes, we need my music. And then you said, no, I said, I literally don't even know the key of the first piece. I mean, this is how reliant on music I was at that point. And you were like, it's okay, we'll work it out. And there was this moment of, I remember I just sat there and I was like, okay, I either have to leave here forever or go with this. That's actually how I felt. But what was incredible about that was that, you know, I think I can't remember which piece we did first, but you basically showed me that I wasn't like an idiot for not being able to memorize music, because you just showed me that, you know, to work from the bottom up and build it up, which is exactly what you do in Baroque flamenco, isn't it, really? Or not necessarily the bottom up. I mean, that we worked harmony upwards, but with what we did, but you strip things back so that you can clearly see what it is, what the essence of what you need to do is, and then you can add on the flounce either side of that, can't you, once you've got it?
And I think that's possible when you're no longer having to read every note. When you get out of that world, which is a false world for us of, you know, the conservatory, then you start to realize you just need to understand, how does this work? And then you can put it together in different ways. So, I mean, if you've been in my classes, you know, I've talked about this a gazillion times, but I want to talk about Start Harp, because one of the things that happened the second year that we were working together is you showed me, I mean, you'd already showed me this, you had a book. She had a book, this great book. It was called, I think it was called Start Harp. I'm not even sure. And she was like, she had this passion. She was like, I want this book. I want to work. So I want every person in Wales, I want them to be able to play the harp because it's the national instrument. And I loved that. And we would talk about how to do that and how she was going to go into the schools and do it. But then there came a moment when we suddenly had this like twist, and we were like, why just Wales? Why just the schools? Why not create this for everybody? And that was when you started building it online. Instead of trying to publish it as a book, you took it apart and you put it bit by bit so that it wasn't just a book, it was a living book in terms of a class.
I remember it was just very flat, you know, on the page. I just felt like it wasn't a thing, and it was destined to just gather dust forever. But really inspired by your courses, that's another reason that this came out, wasn't it? And that, I think, is why our courses are built similar, because obviously you showed me how you'd worked on yours in the mentorship as well, and you know, helped me through that first setup of that very first course, which is I think makes it then easier for people to flip between the two schools.
Right, and that's what we noticed, and that's why we wanted to come on together, because there are some times when it makes, you know, some people will come to me and they're like, should I come into the academy? And I'm like, I would love to take you, and I think you should go study with Shelley first. And there are some people who will come and work with me and they will study with Shelley at the same time. And it really just has to do with how comfortable they're going to be. If you can be in the academy and you can be comfortable with it, it's great. You want to be there because you're going to learn how to build your own thing. My thing is going to be, it's always going to be, how do you build your own thing? How do you build it and be yourself? And then what I love about Shelley's is that you can always go, whatever level you are, you can always go there and you can learn technique. I learned technique from Shelley. That wasn't that, you just did that. It wasn't that long ago. I was having all this pain, and you said to me, that pain often has to do with posture. And I was like, really? And then I was able to get into, it just changed. It almost changed overnight.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, well,
I've forgotten that, but yes,
I'm sorry to tell you this, but but it actually works. Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Well, I mean, I think we often don't realize what does work. I think we often don't realize what we are each doing that does work. And so anyway, we wanted to just come on and answer questions about this for anybody who wants to ask, like, what do I get here? What should I do here? So just in a nutshell, I'm going to mute everybody and you'll have to unmute. So in a nutshell, what you learn, I am not going to teach technique in the academy. I am not going to teach you how to finger things, because I don't know how to do these things, or I wasn't taught them. I'll teach you what I know, but I don't necessarily know. I don't have a process for doing that. What I do have a process for doing is breaking down music so that you can make it your own, and more breaking down the pieces that I've written. And I've written a lot of music to empower harpists, to give repertoire that wasn't there. So when I first came to the harp, repertoire like Baroque flamenco, I was like, where's the passionate Latin piece? I mean, like, the violin has this, Yiddish has their own version of it. Where is it for us? I want to be able to express that. And so I ended up, creating a lot of these things, and then I can teach them to you in the academy. The other thing that I really love teaching are things like how to tell your story with music. You guys know, if you've just been in Strings of Passion, that's what a lot of people have done. I'm all about stories with music, breaking things down, learning how music works. And I think Shelley, equally passionate, has us, I know we're passionate because we'll sit and talk about these things.
Ages, yes.
Yeah.
We get lost in it, don't we? I mean, I think, for me, having, left very formal classical study, not being able to improvise, not being able to play by ear, made me want to entwine those elements with reading in my courses, but having been sent to university with no technique, and hadn't gone through that sort of experience of being stripped right back and being told, you have to start again with one finger and things, has made me extremely passionate, I guess, about being really gentle with everyone, about starting with strong foundations from the very beginning. It's just trying to, save everyone hitting that brick wall that I see adult learners sometimes hit at a certain sort of level that then you can't get by without some of these foundations sort of being there. And also just very passionate about making sure that you have those skills and that you can, I always say to my students that I'm trying to teach you to be able to teach yourself. My ultimate goal is that you don't need me anymore, and that, it's I'm just extremely passionate, I guess, about helping people really understand the mechanics as well. I mean, it doesn't sound very musical, but it allows you to make beautiful music. I think behind the scenes was a good word, actually. I've never described it like that, but it's almost like I'm teaching, certainly in Flourishing Harp, is that behind the scenes of how to play in order.
Yeah, because if you don't have, it does let you flourish, and it gives you the mechanism to work with. Yeah. And I was saying this yesterday in a Facebook Live, that years ago I was on a bus with this artist, and I became friends with this artist, and he said to me once something about being a painter, a painter versus an artist. And he wasn't saying one is better than the other, but he said an artist is an artist. They're interested in art. They will create art. A painter is an artist who loves the paint and cares about the paint and how the paint feels and how the paint goes on and stuff like that. And I had never realized, I'd never thought about that there's, what I teach, yes, I teach it on the harp, but it doesn't matter to me. I love the harp now. I've learned to love the harp. I've learned to use all kinds of techniques, but I would do it on the piano, or I would do it on the ukulele. It's about music, how I break down music. And one of the things that I really love about, and therefore, it can go in different directions. And one of the things that I love about Shelley is that you're talking about the harp.
Yes. Okay.
And so there's I'm talking about, how would you approach anything? How would you approach any music?
That makes very sense.
And you have a really specific, lifelong experience of this particular instrument,
which we all
well, we all do, but I think there's something important about that, and that's why. And I'm one of the things I think is amazing now is how much access everybody has to so many different kinds of teaching. And that's what's going to make you a rounded person and finding, your way. And that's another reason we wanted to just come and talk about this instead of being like, well, here's my thing over here and here's Shelley's thing, but like what, we can talk about it together. So I would love to just take questions from anybody. And let me see if we've got questions here. And are you okay. So Connie says, if you start level 2 and find level 1 or 2 would have been better, can you trade up or down?
Yes, you can. I mean, what I say is that to the end of week 2, you can always switch. And but I just want it to fit. Anybody who's worked with me will know it's just like, I'm just wanting it to work for you. So at any point, if something doesn't fit, then I make sure that it does. So yeah, absolutely.
And Shelley Fern is asking, DHC, I work a lot every day on your classes. How could anyone have time to be in both at the same time? And that was a good question. I mean, I know somebody did that. I know a couple of people have done that.
Yeah, we've had people do
I
this.
don't know how they did it.
Has anybody here that's done that? Let's see if anybody is here. Has anybody been in both schools at the same time?
Yes.
Oh, Gail, you're laughing there. Hi, Gail. Yes.
Wait, who is somebody saying yes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, Gail, talk to us.
Take the floor, Gail.
Let me bring you up.
It's very, very difficult. I can tell you that. And so I joined Hip Hop Academy first. And from there, I learned about Shelley. And I think DHC, I think we had a exchange in emails. I was wondering which best to do. And so I did end up signing up with Shelley because I felt that there was something that I needed to progress with Hip Hop Academy. And it was the foundation, of course, which is very helpful. So what that has meant for me personally is that I've spent more time working with Shelley than I have with hip hop, because it was the whole homework thing. It's like, I don't have time to do
right.
Homework. Yeah. So periodically I will go in and I will view Deborah, some of the lessons and what have you. And what I really appreciate, I mean, in a way, I probably should have done one versus the other, but what I get from the both is I get the technical and the background, which is obviously what I needed. But at the same time, going on in the back of my brain, it is improv. Shelley does talk about improv, but it is looking at improv and creating and connecting with the music is what I get. So for example, when I meditate very quickly, when I meditate in the morning and then I go to my harp and I'm just not playing a tune, but playing, that's coming from here, and that's what you teach, Deborah. And I'll go downstairs and my husband says, oh, I like that tune, what was it? Who would have thought that, right?
Yeah, that's great. So that's really interesting, and it's something that we might want to think about. How can people do that? I mean, like right now, I think it's I'll take you out of the spotlight, Gail, unless you want to stay there. Okay. I mean, right now the Academy the price is about to go up. So it's actually a really great time to start, because once you get into the Academy, your price is locked in, it's grandfathered. So even if it goes up $300, which is going to happen in June, you get to keep that price. And the secret that I don't tell anybody when they join, but those of you who've been in the Academy for a while, is I actually lower that price in the second year. So it just makes it easier for you to stay, because I love to work with people over the long haul. So that's why there's an advantage to being in both. But that's really interesting, Gail, that it must be. I mean, I know that some people, well, Lori, I know you you mostly just come to the chats, right?
Right. The first year, I'm starting my third year with you and the Academy. And the first year I really tried to do every single module and do homework, and I was working over 40 hours a week, and it was just very challenging. So now, as work was consistently just really demanding, I would just do the chats, and get a lot of course, content through what was being discussed and shared at the chat.
Well, that's what I think a lot of people are beginning to realize, that so the chats are on Monday. And do you come to both of them or just one of them?
Just one.
Okay, good. I'm amazed. Some people come to two of them. There's two, but there's just because there's one in the morning for the people in Europe, and there's one in the afternoon for people, in down under. And so I'm learning that a lot of people just love coming to the chats because we do break down music a lot. You get to see what other people are doing. It gets broken, and you start seeing how do we apply this? And I think that's really important, especially after the first year. The first year, you're sort of learning, here are the principles, this is what's happening. And I think that's another reason I've started doing these challenges, is to give everybody, even if you can't go to all the classes, you get that foundation, and then you can start applying things during the chat. So that's good to know. I'm glad it's really working. I keep hearing that, and it's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can absorb a lot.
Right. That's right. And I'll bet it's true. I bet it's true of both of us. And I know somebody just also had a chat that, Shelley, would you say there's any way to do everything in Start Harp?
Well, Felicity, you're here, and Gail, you're in the year-long, my year-long program, but I launched that in January 2021 for the first time. And it's my intention to launch it again in 2022 as a full year course. And I was just thinking of Felicity. I hope you don't mind me sharing this. You stop me. You go like this if you don't want me to. But I know Felicity has been. You sort of said to me you've taken advantage of everything in lockdown that's been offered, and so you've been doing all the courses that I have running when I was kind of expecting people to do one or two at a time. And you've just gone for it. You've jumped in with both feet, and you've been doing lots of other things with other harp teachers as well. And you've described it to me. I talk a lot about spiral learning, about the fact that we're ready, we visit something, even if it's like one of the videos that Deborah or I share for you. You might visit it once and you'll be ready to take in something from that video, and then you'll come around, you do some other stuff, and then you'll come back maybe to that same video or that same idea somewhere else, presented differently or in the same video, whatever, and then you're ready to take on more. Your brain and your mind, you're just ready for it. And the spiral learning goes round and round and round until you find you're sort of up here, and you, without really necessarily even noticing. Now, Felicity, you sort of said to me, there's a lot, you've been doing an awful lot, and you've been kind of going, oh, goodness me. But then you said to me, but I've just been coming live to everything because I can feel the spiral learning, and I know that it's coming in, and I'm picking things up as I go. And that's been really interesting for me to hear, because I'm always concerned when somebody's doing more than lots of classes, but it seems to have been really positive for you.
Yeah, I found that it's different things come from different places. They click into something else, and it may not be obvious, but somehow it's almost like a mosaic. It's just little pieces. And then I've just done, Deborah's the challenge this last week, and it's like amazing. And then it's sort of, I just feel, I know it's manic and crazy in a way, but it's sort of, I think I'm a swirly learner.
A swirly
learner. I love that.
I'm not a linear learner.
Well, I was just thinking of something when you said that, Felicity, that like when I came to the harp late, and there weren't harp teachers to teach me what I needed. So I got learning from every place that I could. And I think what happens when you do that is that you start developing your style. You start developing your thing, and you almost develop your thing by what you can't hold on to. You start seeing what sticks to me. What sticks to me are the things that really work. The other thing that just occurred to me, and I'm curious about this, Shelley, is I suspect that most of the people who do the homework try to do it at a level beyond what they need to do it in order to get the value from it. And that's what may make, I'm thinking that, I've heard some of the people in the academy say, oh, I just didn't have time, so I just turned on the video and I just did it. And it was great. But a lot of times we get into perfectionism.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing more than, I don't know, I'm curious about you guys, like that's the thing that ends up making it take so long. And
the thing is that with the homeworks, very often with the homeworks that I've set, they are to help me see, whether the placing's coming, whether our placing's developing the way we want it to, whether whether our hand positions are going the way that we want them to, whether we've been memorizing, the inversion shapes, whatever. I'm thinking of sort of Start Harp 1 at the moment in my mind. And, I only need really, 30 seconds to be able to see that and then work with you and help you. And I always say to people, I don't want a polished product that you've spent 20, 50 takes doing, because actually the whole point is that you share something where you're at right now, so I can help you over if there's a brick wall or a hurdle there. That's my job then, to be able to help you and guide you and help you see your way through that, rather than you kind of sweating it out on your own for ages. So, you know, definitely, you know, embracing imperfection, which I think came from you originally, you know, that that idea is, you know, just very powerful. And yeah, people do not need to try and get things perfectly, of course.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I think that, I mean, I'm trying to, you know, I talk about coaching versus, certainly coaching versus assessing. So when I think we're both the same way, when we're looking at what people are doing, there's no, well, for me, there's no assessing. I'm looking at,
absolutely, yeah.
Or if I'm assessing anything, it's you're telling me what you're trying to do, and then I'm going to try to help you do that at your level. Because that's the kind of coaching that I came from. When I worked with my teacher, Tony, he didn't play music, for one thing. But I mean, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I'd be like, I'm trying to look at this. I'm trying to do this, but this is what's happening. I can't do that. And he'd be like, have you tried this? Or, oh, try this. This is going to be, oh, I see, but I see that you're like tying yourself up in a knot this way. So when I give homework to people, it's mostly just to give you, so you don't have to think about what to practice, because if you had to think about what to practice, that would drive you crazy. And then when people submit, I always ask them what do you want coaching on? Where are you struggling with this? Because that's where I want to help you. Don't show me something. If you show me something perfect, I won't even know what to do with it. You don't need me.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And Betsy is saying, pop with pizzazz and a couple of Shelley's intentions while I'm in Hip Hop Academy. Therefore, I never do homework for either. Oh. And Betsy, come on here. And how does that work for you? Let me. Where
Betsy, you have? I've heard you play in Pop with Pizzazz, so this isn't true.
Well, sorry, I'm packing for a gig happily.
Okay. Yeah.
Astoundingly. I probably, actually, Deborah, what you just said may make the difference in my doing homework, because part of what I worry about is, well, this isn't good enough. And if we were sitting next to each other, I wouldn't have a choice. You would just have seen it. But because I'm videoing, you know, so maybe I need to take that advice to heart after being in your program for 7 years or something?
Well, it's hard to get to the point where you're having a video and you're like, hey, let me show you what I'm bad at. You know, let me show you the thing I can't do.
Right.
I think but yes, I would love that. And it might help you.
And
we do have bad video
the
challenges.
Other thing, I'm sorry, what's that?
I was just going to say, we do have bad video challenges at Hip Hop Academy. You may have missed those. Anyway,
that's the other thing. My work is a little bit cyclical. So there are times when, like, winter was fantastic because I could do both. Come wedding season, forget it. But the other advantage I think I have, and Deborah, you know this, is I play a lot even at this moment. And so I can often put things into practice immediately when I'm doing background music at a gig. And that's sort of my substitute for officially doing the homework.
Well,
I sneak in.
Well, I would like to say that homework is a substitute for officially doing what you're doing, because I think that anyone who can, if you can, I mean, the homework is just there because otherwise you wouldn't have another reason to do it. But what I love this, because you said this right in the very beginning of when you first came into the academy, is you said, I apply this immediately. Whatever I learn in class, I take that one thing and I put it right into what I'm doing. And I think that is the best way to do it, is get one thing a week, put it right into play. And this is one reason why I often suggest that people have their projects planned in the beginning. So there's a project for every class. And I suggest it because then you can just take that, you can take something simple that you're going to do. You just keep applying each thing you learn. Just keep applying it. And then by the end, you have something, you know, it will never be everything that you hoped, ever, ever, ever. But it will be something. And then doing what Betsy, I think you said, is brilliant. And so you just come to what you can, right? You drop in when you can. You
I
get what
do.
you can.
I mean, I'm currently agonizing over, am I going to sign up for Shelley's next class? Because we're coming into April and May and things get busy. But I'll miss Shelley and I'll miss
I'll
the
miss
people.
you too, Betsy.
And you know, that's really important because we do not often get to, at least in my area, talk to other harpists and ask, what do you do about this thing? And how did you overcome this? And in addition to all the stuff you learn in the class, that kind of ability to talk to each other is really, really important. Yeah. I teach Tai Chi, and we have a saying in Tai Chi, let us learn from each other. Tai Chi is the teacher. And this is a little bit the same. Let us learn from each other. The harp teaches us all.
Yeah.
You know, Betsy,
Can't hide mine.
I'm really glad you said that, and I'll take you off unless you start talking. Are you gonna? I'll take you off for now, just because I
If
don't
you
want.
don't take me off, you know I'll keep talking, so you'd better.
Well, no, I'm more worried that you're not going to be able to pack. But well, okay, I'm going to keep you on. You can decide. You can keep packing. No, I'll take you off. What the heck? Because I can, and then I can put you back on. What Betsy just reminded me of is, and I had forgotten. Like when I built the academy, I wanted there to be different ways for people to engage. And I wasn't expecting everybody to engage in all three ways. And I was thinking that those ways were, we're going to have, there's videos that you get to watch. You can watch them anytime, however you want. And then there's, class time where where there's a chat. And then there's got to be something where people can ask questions, because I would go and I would sign up for online classes, and I'm an online class junkie. I love it. But I began to realize it was useless. I didn't care about it. I couldn't learn unless I could ask a question, if I had a specific question in how to apply this to me. And on some level, I feel like just being able to have access to people who will answer your questions is huge. I mean, yeah, it's huge. I mean, I'm in a support group for technology, and all it is just a Facebook page where I can go ask questions about, like, how does Infusionsoft work? I mean, it's literally for one app, but the value of it is that I can ask the question so that I don't have to go searching. Like when people say, well, it's on the internet for free, and I'm like, yeah, if I have 25 years to find the exact thing. Whereas if I could just ask a person, that makes all the difference. And so people think they have to do all these things, the live chats, the projects, the video, watch all the videos, but that's not true. And people in the academy some are starting to realize, especially those who've been through the program, I want to work on this project. Can I work? I'm in the academy, but I really want to work on this. Is there a way for me to go through the academy, applying what we're doing in each class, but applying it to the same thing? And that's starting to get really exciting for me, because yes, you can. So Shelley, you were going to say something, and then there was a question here.
I was going to add on to the homework thing that really, for me, with the homeworks that we have in Start Harp, and Flourishing Harp is kind of his masterclass, where we all turn up together and I give everyone a task to do instantly. So the great thing about that is you can't really prepare for it. You just turn up and you have to do something. But with Start Harp, they're kind of just a check-in point. And Felicity, you've said something that I say often, which is, Shelley says the submitted homework is simply a starting point for conversation. And I can't help if you don't show me anything, and that's true. But what I was going to say was that for me, the big deal is that I want to see you guys playing and be able to tell you what you are doing that's brilliant, because it's so easy when we're learning, well, probably in life in general, but when we're learning the harp to, just go, oh, I'm not doing that. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. Oh, I forgot to do that again. Oh, no, and you get into this kind of cycle. And I just love to be able to go, wow, you're playing with beautiful rhythm, beautiful flow, whatever it might be. Point out, I love pointing out to you what you're doing brilliantly, and then giving you the next step to then help you do that more, so it really doesn't matter how the homework arrives. It really is a case of turn up, you can turn up and do it live, or you can pre-record it, whichever you're more comfortable with. In some ways doing it live is easier because you don't have to, again, you're just forced to just turn up and go. But yeah, I'm really, it's as Felicity says, I say it's a starting point for conversation, and I'm not there with with a red, amber, green pen, like a primary school teacher. I'm literally there wanting to see what you are doing that's wonderful, and then help you with the next piece of the jigsaw puzzle. That's what it's about.
I think that's really important. And then Kimberly has a question. I won't forget that. But I think what Shelley just said, and you guys have heard me say this too, is I want to show you what you're doing right, because that's the thing that we often can't see it. We don't know what is working. And so then we'll go off and, I'll go off and change it. And yet that was the thing that was working until I begin. And at my level as well, I need, my coaches to tell me, look, this is working. Keep doing this because that's working. If you want to work on something, work on this over here, but don't change that thing because that is naturally you. Now, Fern, I think you've experienced that. I think that was a surprise for you to realize, to start seeing that there were things that you are doing. I'm going to put you up here if that's okay. To see that there were things that you were doing that you had no idea were powerful, right?
Now that you say that, I don't know. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of encouragement from you. I thought I was just sort of pathetic and didn't know what direction I was going. And then, yeah, my story just kind of came to me without necessarily getting way better, just getting, if my fingers don't want to go fast, then just find something beautiful where your fingers are going the smoothness and the beauty that they want to go.
Yeah, and I think this also brings, and I swear I haven't forgotten you, Kimberly, but I think this also may help you guys kind of understand. So when I'm about, what Shelley's going to give you and what I'm going to give you, what the difference is and how they work with each other. So when I hear that, the minute I hear somebody has a story to tell, or they've got a position that I think is a position of leadership, they are an advocate for something. The minute I see that, everything in my soul is like, you have to tell that story. I have to help you tell that story. You have to be out there doing that. And that's just what happens to me.
It did. When you had the lesson on telling a story and just doing, music and then tell part of the story, it just came up that I wanted to see other Black harpists.
Right.
And I just saw Gail. And yeah, through the group, I learned about this other group of Black harpists on Instagram. And it's just very lovely. It's just lovely. It's always nice to find a community that you're just instantly at home with. I'm really at home with the harpists, but it's just different if you're with.
Well, I want to say something that really shifted from me as I saw you change. Like when you first came into the academy, you were kind of trying to do things right,
Yeah.
and then once you connected with your mission and your story, the story that is important for you to tell because it's going to change other people's lives, then everything shifted, and now the work is all going towards that. Or that's how it seems.
It is. And I sent out a Christmas card that I thought was just barely okay. Oh my gosh, everybody loved it. They thought I was a virtuoso. They didn't know I even played such a difficult instrument. I mean, it was just amazing, the crazy, beautiful feedback I got from what I thought was just a mediocre little offering.
Right.
And I'm going to do that a lot more.
Well, good. I'm glad about that. I mean, and like that's right in my ballpark. I just love figuring out how to do those things. So thank you, Fern. Kimberly's saying in Start Harp, are there also chats? Yes, where you really should attend live in real time.
If possible, that's amazing, but there are replays. So for Start Harp, we meet on a Sunday night at 8 p.m. British time. And then on Wednesdays for Flourishing Harpist at the same time, 8 p.m. And so for Start Harp, the Sunday night sessions they alternate Q&A, homework, Q&A, homework, and we alternate. So you get one another. And if you really miss something, then sometimes I will switch things around a bit. But in general, that's how they're set. And with Flourishing Harpist, now I'm just having a mental block on that. I think they're all masterclass. Flourishing Harpist. Who's on Flourishing Harpist and can save me right now? Anyway, but we meet up again. I know it does. It alternates the same thing. It's masterclass Q&A, masterclass Q&A, masterclass Q&A. And one of the masterclasses in Flourishing Harpist is literally I get everyone to play 4 rhythms, and it's one of the most exciting classes that I've ever taken, because it's fascinating, and we always come away feeling really excited, because rhythm can be a thing that in the background of our playing is something that we wish that was totally autopilot, and so it's a really exciting one. I'm sorry, I've gone off on one about that, but so basically, if you can make the live sessions, it's wonderful. If you can't, I do make them as replays, and you can submit your work in advance if you want me to comment on your playing as well. So you can submit questions or playing in advance and get them back on replay. I've had people in Australia take the courses, and they've done it entirely without attending live. And in fact, one of the lovely comments I had back this term at the end of term was somebody saying that she still felt she was part of the group, part of the harp hive mind is the term that I use, even though she wasn't attending live. And that was really special for me to hear, because I'm glad that we can achieve that even with different time zones.
And I got to say, one of the things I like about it, I love attending things live that when I'm in the class, but what I like about attending when it's not live is I can change the tempo. And sometimes I'll watch things at twice the speed. I got to admit it. Probably wouldn't watch Shelley at twice speed, but unless I had dolphin ears. Well, we both talk pretty fast. I was worried about that. But see, that's the thing. You can slow it down. Yes, there's a little thing that you can slow it down. Yeah. And the other thing that I like, and I don't know if you do this, Shelley, but in the Academy, they can download the audio. And so then you can listen to it separately. Most people don't like to do that, but that's possible as well. Sure. And that's what I used to always do for my classes.
Okay.
Okay, forget that.
I haven't got that set up in my course.
Okay, but don't do it. Nobody likes it. Everybody hates it. They don't want it. I'm going to take it out. No. Okay.
Well, various people have told me that they listen to the audio like while hoovering and stuff. They just put their phone in their pocket and they'll be listening.
Well, of course.
Students told me she did loads of her learning while doing housework. So
why not? I mean, why not? So Vimukti is asking, having a childhood of being traumatized by teachers and peers for being slow and different makes it difficult for me to be in a class, and if put on the spot, I go blank. Then I think we both get this.
I'm totally empathizing with you on this. Yes, absolutely.
So let me finish the question just so everybody hears that. That's okay. Yeah. So Shelley, is it possible to still work in your class environment? And I think what Vimukti is asking is it possible to not be put on the spot? Vimukti, let us know if that's what you're asking. That's what I think you're asking.
Okay.
Well, yes, is it possible not to be put on the spot, but also is there space if I go blank? Because then I go into, I'm not good enough, and then so the whole thing takes over.
So now I'm worried about, is it okay for me to put you in the spotlight?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
that's fine.
All right. Okay, carry on. Yeah, what were you saying?
Yeah, so is there space in the class? Because you mentioned before that, you like people to come together and you can do something right on the spot. But I tend to go blank, so I have trouble actually playing with other people because I just can't think fast enough. I have to go get through the fog and everything first. Sure. So I'm just wondering and I've often thought that I'd like to be able to do that. I'd like to actually be able to attend a class and not let this take over. I'm just wondering if there's space for me to grow in that.
It sounds to me like it would be perfect. Now, Mike, you're here and you've sent in recorded videos on homework to me in Start Harp, haven't you? So it sounds to me like if you wanted to send in homework for feedback, that you could do it in the video way. So then you can do it when you're feeling happy to, and send the video. And then what happens then is that I will help you in whatever way I can, because that's kind of my whole point of being. If you send in the video, what I tend to do, so Mike, you've experienced this, is I play the video whilst you are there, but you are not then playing. So what we do then is we watch the video together and I give you feedback on the video, and I demonstrate then, things that you might like to adjust or work with or develop on, but you don't have to play live. So Felicity, you are actually challenging yourself at the moment to play live, because it's actually you feel that you are wanting to break through, you're ready to sort of break through that wall of finding it challenging to play in front of people. So you're kind of using it, and it's a very safe space. I mean, it's the whole, you know, I mean, the same with Deborah's classes, you know, is just, it's kind of it's a community where we're all there reaching out to each other around the globe, kind of just to, you know, to celebrate what you can do, and commiserate and look for solutions for things that we might be finding
Shelley,
challenging.
I just want to make sure, Vimukti, did we answer your question, but did we understand it fully, that what you were asking?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously through the recordings and everything, there's a chance for me to get involved, and then at some point I can fly and have a go at being live as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's, yeah.
And I mean, you know, the very first homework in level 1, I'm sure that I don't know where you are when you're playing, but you know, people at level 1, it's all about actually just submitting the video. I get everyone to play a scale of C major. So, you know, and literally with finger 2, we do a scale of C major. And so what that is actually about is it's to make it an easier task, so that it's all about working with the technology or coming up and playing in front of people for the first time, you know. So it's actually, I'm quite nurturing, I promise, you know, and actually, you know, reading your message, you know, Deborah, you know that I empathize with that whole statement. So, you know, I yeah.
So I just wanted to, I think we should probably, you know, Harp Time Live is going to start pretty soon. So I want to just see if there's any final questions, and what are your takeaways? What are your takeaways from this? Because this is probably an unusual type of situation where you've got two people with what might seem like competing, you know, classes or academies actually talking to you about what you can get from either one of them, because they work together. And they work together for you to end up being who you. Oh, Yoka says, how can we discover at which level we play? Oh, don't you have a test? So, Shelley, don't you have a
quiz? There's a quiz on my website which hasn't had Flourishing Harpist added to it. So if it comes out saying, "Whoa, what are you doing here? You must be professional," then you might like to look at if there's one level where that's the response you get from me. But a Flourishing Harpist might be of interest to you at that point. But yes, there is a quiz, Yoke, and of course you can also, you know, we can be in contact as well to help make decisions as well on levels. People often do the quiz and then they email me. That's what usually happens.
So I think you guys have a pretty good idea what happens in Start Harp and Flourishing Harpists, and what happens in the Academy. The next is Baroque Flamenco, and then after that we start going into, well, we're going to have a retreat, a harmony retreat, and then after that we will go into Jazz for Harps in the summer, which is all about improv in both blues and jazz and improv and vamps. And then starting in the fall we go into what's called Hip Harp Toolkit, which is basically an arrangement class. And then there are other retreats throughout there. There's actually a very cool retreat that we do called Untangle. So I will sometimes bring in other people to do retreats with me. So I brought in somebody that's almost like a social, someone who helps people untangle trauma. And I did a workshop with her, and we're doing that again. And this time we're going to combine it with rhythm. And there are times when you can come in, and I think you can do this both with Shelley's class and in my classes. There's sort of immersions or retreats that you can come and you can take those separately. And so those are all the things that are coming up. And if you go to hipharpacademy.com, you can get a sense of what's happening this spring. And if you want to know what's happening in the rest of the year, just email me. You can see all the different classes that are in the Academy. And if you go to Start Harp, can they go to startharp.com?
Yeah, yes, you can. You can find it all that way, of course. Yeah, Fairplay Harp School, but Start Harp is probably easier to remember. Startharp.com.
Okay, great. And so what would be everybody's takeaways from this? And Betsy's off to make content. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm off to become a beautiful harpist instead of a person in sweatpants. Okay, great. Good. Takeaway is it's good to make contact with Shelley to investigate where I can go. And that's another thing, is you can email either one of us to let us know, you know, to ask or to talk to us about it and find out, you know, what can I do and where can I fit and stuff like that. So that's great. Any other takeaways? Kimberly said it was helpful for me to figure out my next steps and what is realistic. What's gonna support you? Yeah. Because we both want to support you becoming who you're going to be.
Yeah.
You know, the voice of you as an artist and what that is going to be.
you said something so valid about the idea of the, you know, the different teachers, and then you by you sort of osmosis, you pick up different things and become you. And actually then me coming and working with you in the mentorship was when I then kind of threw away all the baggage and became me. And so, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's important. And Connie's saying, I noticed there are other teachers with schools, Celtic, etc. Is yours basic on based on a specific style? I think that may be something that's very different, that's similar about Shelley and me and different from other schools. I'm going to show you a bunch of different styles. I'm going to show you, jazz-based styles, Latin, swing, blues. I'm going to show you that, but it's not based on that. My school is going to be based on how do we break down music so you can live and speak music and have it in your body. That's what I care about. And how are you going to learn to tell your story and live your story with music in whatever style and whatever level? That's my thing. And what would you say your thing is, Shelley?
Well, somebody last night when we were live asked about whether I did, whether there was classical music included, didn't they? And actually, it made me kind of realize what a hodgepodge of music there is in my classes, because, you know, it is teaching, you know, I'm teaching the, you know, the technique, the playing by ear, the reading music, the improvising, and with whatever genre of music I feel is going to help us most with the thing that I'm trying to teach you. So it's completely not genre specific, which means you get a little taste of everything. And what I love about that, DHC, is that sometimes people will go, I saw this week's tune, I was like, I am not going to like that. And by the end of the week, I loved it. And I love hearing that. It's really fun. So it's completely varied. It really is.
And Melinda's saying something, of course, we probably each forget, you know, what's important, like you guys forget what works, what's really working for you. Melinda's pointing out that she said, I love that your teaching applies to other things, particularly meditative styles. So even though I teach rhythm, I love rhythm, I do always try to teach how you could put this into a meditative style, how you could meditate with it, how you could use it in other ways, because that, again, helps you break down what's the music and what's the style, because they're two different things. And once you can really connect to the music, you can put it in whatever style. You can make it be more, you can break it apart and put stories in, or you can do this, you can add dances to it, you can do anything with it once you understand that. So this is great. And Tammy's saying, I love the options you give us. I've also taken some of Shelley classes and they're great. That's great. So these definitely work together. And Yoke is saying, my takeaway is I still feel to be stuck in the difference between my musical knowledge and my actual capacity of practical playing. I totally hear you. And I've seen a huge change, Yoka, by the way. And I think that I'm just going to say that, you know, a lot of us are stuck in I mean, there's so many aspects to this. There's our perfectionism, there's learning technique, there's learning what music is. And the beauty of that is that it is never ending. You're never going to get to the point where you're like, well, I got it all. It's always going to be that way. And then there's also just learning, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong, because I feel the way you do, I think many of us do, is also getting to the point where we can be in that space. We call it liftoff in the academy, where we can actually be the way we are, knowing we want to learn a whole lot more, but we can be that way and actually feel like we can be comfortable with it and express ourselves. So yeah, there's much more than music happening in both of these places. And Mona says, that's why I'm a lifer. I want my voice to come through my heart to my harp and be a healing force in the world. Yes, and I know that is and will be. And I know that both Shelley and I are committed to that for us and for all of you. We're committed to that, and whatever we can do for that to happen. So I just realized it is time for Harp Time Live. Shelley, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining.
And letting me come in and chat to you all.
Yeah.
It's been really nice to see you all. Can I stay a little bit for Harp Time Live?
Sure.
Thank you. I'd love to.
Yes,
I know what
absolutely.
you're doing. You've told me what you're doing, and
Yeah, but
wanna-
but one of the things I love about Harp Time Live is I normally just make it up. Like I haven't tried it yet, but I thought I think this is going to work today. So let's give it a try. Okay, so I'll let you off the spotlight. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop the video and then start it again. So I'm going to bring everybody up, just so get your Zoom faces on. And here we are. And we're just about to start Harp Time Live. Okay. Okay, we